People love to tell you, don't expect anything and you won't be disappointed. But we both know that's the fastest way to accept trash behavior and call it peace. In this video, I'm going to break down why having expectations isn't really toxic, why it isn't unrealistic, and why it's literally the only way you protect your time, your energy, and your self-respect. You'll understand how expectations are actually just standards dressed in a different outfit, why people guilt you for having them, and how you can tell the difference between healthy expectations and the kind that set you up for disappointment. Stick with me, because by the end, you're going to rethink the entire no expectations mindset people push on you. Let's start with the obvious. Expectations get such a bad reputation. Every time you expect something from someone, you risk being told you're too unrealistic, too demanding, or even too sensitive. And this idea has gone on for so long that many people start lowering their standards, confusing being chill with having no self-worth. But let me ask you an uncomfortable question. What happens if you stop expecting anything at all? You tolerate behavior that drains you. You normalize disrespect. You allow inconsistency to define your relationships. So what are expectations? They are simply the boundaries and standards you place around how you want to be treated and how you want to live. Nobody tells you to stop expecting clean water when you open a tap. Nobody says, oh, you're too picky for wanting food without hair in it. But when it comes to people and relationships, suddenly expectations are a crime. If you're asking why, it's because when you do have expectations, you naturally filter out the people who are not willing to meet them. And not everyone is ready to be filtered. Here's the challenge though. Sometimes we blur the line between healthy standards and fantasy. Expecting your partner to respect you, that's healthy. Expecting your partner to read your mind, fix all your insecurities, and never disappoint you, that's fantasy. This is where people mess up. They either swing to one extreme of I expect nothing at all, which makes them a doormat or people pleasers, but we'll talk about that in another video. Or they swing to another extreme of I expect everything to be perfect, which sets them up for heartbreak. And society doesn't help. How many times have you heard, lower your expectations and you'll be happier? Or you can't expect people to treat you the way you treat them. And my personal favorite, don't put people on a pedestal. The problem is, instead of teaching us balance, we're told to kill our standards completely. And the result, people settle. Relationships drag on, and friendships become one-sided. Let's dig deeper into why people are scared of expectations. Fear of rejection. If you set expectations, you're giving people the chance to walk away if they can't meet them. And that's scary. Nobody wants to be left. So instead, people shrink themselves. They convince themselves they're easygoing, when in reality they're silently suffering. Fear of being judged. Society praises people who seem low maintenance. We've turned low standards into a personality trait. So when someone says, I expect loyalty or I expect effort, you're high maintenance. Fear of disappointment. Expectations make you vulnerable. If you raise the bar, you're giving people the power to let you down. So some people prefer to not have any expectations at all, just so they wouldn't be disappointed. But living without expectations doesn't protect you from pain. It guarantees it. Now, if we flip the script, what happens when you do have standards? You stop wasting time on people who are never serious. You stop excusing bad behavior because that's just how they are. And finally, you protect your peace. And if there's one thing I want you to take from this video, it's this. Expectations force people to either rise to the occasion, to meet your standards, or step out of your life. Both outcomes are a win. Ever noticed how expectations are framed differently depending on who sets them? Let me give you a simple example. When a company says, we expect you to show up on time, to meet deadlines, to deliver results, nobody calls them controlling. That's considered normal. But when you say, I expect you to respect my boundaries, to call me when you say you will, and to put in effort, suddenly you're toxic. It's the same principle. One is professional, the other is personal, but both are about standards. One of the biggest lies we're fed is to love people without expectations. It sounds poetic, but try living that way. You'll end up giving unconditional love to someone who doesn't really deserve it. Healthy relationships are built on mutual expectations. I expect respect, and I give it back. I expect effort, and I'll double it. I expect honesty, and I'll do the same. Expectations, without them, there's chaos. Now, let me be clear, expectations and entitlement are not the same thing. Entitlement is you telling someone that they owe you happiness. Expectations is more like you telling someone that you expect them to respect you or your boundaries. One is about control, the other is about self-respect. Let me tell you a quick story. I was dating someone who kept saying they were putting in effort, but their actions didn't really show it. They would text back hours later or cancel plans or show up distracted. And at first I told myself, it's okay, be patient, don't expect too much. But eventually I realized effort shouldn't just be words, it should be shown. So I set the expectation. If this is the level of effort, then I don't want it. Things became very clear, and honestly, I had so much more peace once I stopped making excuses for them. And that's the power of expectations. They filter people and they force clarity. Here's the key moment of all of this. Expectations are not the enemy. Lowering them is. Because every time you lower your expectations, you're basically telling yourself, my needs don't matter as much as keeping this person happy. But when you hold your standards, your expectations, you're telling yourself, I matter enough to not settle. And the people who respect you will stay. The people who don't will leave. That's not loss, that's alignment. So let me wrap this up by reminding you that expectations are just standards. They protect you from being taken for granted, and they filter out the people who don't align with your values. They're not about control, they're about self-respect. The key is just balance. Expect honesty and effort, but don't expect perfection. Stop letting people shame you into lowering your standards. You're not too much and you're not too difficult. If you're watching this, you're just someone who values yourself enough to expect what you deserve. And that's the whole point. Watch the next video popping up here, somewhere on the screen. It's going to change how you think about relationships even more.